I'm Al McFarlane. Welcome to the Conversation with Al McFarlane. Glad to be here and glad to have you along as well. Well, it's Friday, and on Fridays we do the Healing Circle. I'm always pleased to be in the presence and have the company of Dr. Bravada Garrett Akinsanya, who's the principal founder of African American Child Wellness Institute. By the way, I serve on her board. I'm pleased to be associated with her. She also has a company called Braken's Psychological Services, Inc. And I tell people all the time that I have a connection with her through that business as well. I'm one of her patients. And so it pleases me to talk to Black men in particular, but our people in general, to say we owe it to ourselves to seek help and to be healthy and to understand that there are marvelous resources, great genius, talent, wonderful experience, and committed to our cultural experience, our way of knowing. And Dr. B represents that. So my plug here is that if you have not availed yourself of the training, the resources, the intelligence, the healing power of therapy and of mental health services, you need to think about it. Check it out. I can tell you, you won't be disappointed. I want to encourage, another part of that is that this is about us understanding that our health is our business. You see it all the time. We're in the, maintaining our health is our business. And the Institute is an organization, but it's a business as well. And we need to always think of the power we bring when we do business with each other. And that's why I say our health is our business. Let's grow our health. We grow our health, we grow our business as well. Well, we start the program off every week with a protocol that we use to guide us through the program and to get us centered. Let me invite Dr. B in to say hello and to guide us in the protocol. Dr. B, how you doing? Sister Queen?
I'm great, my king. Baba Al, it's a wonderful day to be here again and to sit with you in this healing circle. It's such an honor to be here with you and to help heal ourselves and our community. So thanks for introducing the idea that we have a protocol, because every Friday when we have a healing circle, we are sitting in circle. It may be virtual. We may not be in the same rooms, but in our spirit, we are in circle. And the reason we use circles is because circles have no hierarchy. There's no top or bottom or beginning and or end. Everyone in the circle has equal access to share voice at the center of the circle, where the power of the space reserves. We also honor our elders in circle, because those are the shoulders we stand on, and we honor them because I know none of us got here on our own. Somebody worked our way, prayed our way, hoped our way into existence. So we sit here today as the embodiment of centuries of dreams. And as we sit in this special place, I always like to ask people to just take a breath, just inhale and exhale. And do that a couple of times just to center around this powerful conversation. Inhale and exhale. You may even notice on your right or to your left or looking behind you that you're in a space that is safe. This space is safe for you. And as we honor our elders, we proceed with honoring our ancestors. Those are the shoulders our elders stood on, but more importantly, those are the connections to our Creator. In this healing circle, as we honor our past, our present, our future, we are orderly. So, as African people are, we have a talking stick, and it goes from one person to the next. Okay, it's virtual, but you go to one person to the next in an orderly fashion. And if the spirit moves and you feel like you have the stick, a need to speak, just ask for the stick and it will be granted. And so the person holding the stick has this audience to the center. So with those expectations and values and mechanisms to assume the protocol of a healing circle, with that I say welcome and I say ashe. Ashe to our elders, Ashe to the spirits that be, and Ashe to our hope. So I pass the
Ashe.
talking stick back to you.
Thank
Ashe.
you. Thank you, Dr. B. What a wonderful way to begin a meeting. I have said this often. It reminds me of the first time I went to Ghana and had a chance to meet with elders and political leaders and division leaders and chiefs in a variety of meetings. And every meeting kind of started like this, where there was a centering and an acknowledgement of the presence of the ancestors, the will of the Creator, and an acknowledgement of all the people in the room as representatives of both the ancestors and the elders. And that whole conversation allowed each person to bring in, let my words be guided by the elders, by the ancestors, and by the Creator. And it brings a certain solemnness, and it makes you think about what you're saying and why you're saying it, because it has to ring true to that spirit of truth. And the spirit of truth is what the elders, the ancestors surround us with. And so it's a wonderful thing. It's a good feeling. Well, I think that characterizes all of our conversations, and we want to make sure that all of us have tools to invoke that. Wouldn't it be awesome to be able to invoke that every day, all day? It can be done. We have to simply be intentional. Well, today we've got a great program that is consistent with this idea of healing and health. Pleased to have my friend Britt Howell here, and I'll tell you about her. Bring her in right away. Britt Howell is here, also a colleague of hers and ours, Lupe Castillo. Well, let me tell you about Britt first. And Britt and Lupe are doing a major event in a couple of days, so we want to make sure that we talk about that and invite the whole world to think about it, to support it spiritually, mentally, financially, and personally, if they can show up and be a part of it. Britt Howell is the founder and creative director of BF50 Indigenous Health Initiative. She's a facilitator, a certified Indigenous seed saver, a cottage food producer, a plant-based educator, organic farm lead with the Minneapolis Park and Minneapolis Farmers Market, farm profitability coach. He's facilitated multicultural, intergenerational panel discussions around sustainability, around greener living, and around access to food in Minneapolis green zones. She has curated, and she does curate, environmental and food justice gatherings with educational and resource-based organizations. She brings activists and cultural artists together. Her organization, BF50, amplifies health, wellness, and cultural arts in urban communities. In July of 2023, she received a resolution from the city of Minneapolis, a resolution of the mayor and the city council, and she serves on the board of directors as vice president of the Prospect Park Association. She's a graduate of the University of Minnesota Twin Cities Center for Urban and Regional Affairs. They call it CURA, Neighborhood Leadership and Organizing Systems Change Program. Also, the University of Minnesota Cottage Food Program and University of Wisconsin Food Finance Institute, Food Business Model Optimization, Food Business Financial Packaging, and Financial Resilience Training. She's a mentor for the University of Minnesota Institute on the Environment and McAllister's Environmental Studies students. She is curating the 4th annual 4th Street Festival. That's what I was talking about. 4th Street Festival and Garden Gathering, August 6th at the Bridal Veil Gardens in Prospect Park in Minneapolis. She'll be joined by a whole lot of environmental organizers, or organizations, supporters, local businesses, guest speakers, farm educators, political leaders, and a fantastic group of just superb human beings who show up as activists and as volunteers. Britt, so good to see you, and thank you for being here. Thank you so much. Thank you for your work and the dedication. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are both of you?
I'm great. I'm great.
Fantastic. And thank you so much for having me again, Al. It's always fun to be here. It's always such a pleasure.
Yeah.
We're so excited about Tuesday, our BF50 4th Street Festival during National Night Out. Um, we have pulled in everyone. Come join us, be a part of this sustainability and greener living event. We couldn't be happier. It's gone pretty smoothly this year. Every year there's a little bump in the road, but it's fantastic. We start off hoping we'll have at least 20 organizers, folks to come and table. Well, this year we went way over that. We're bumping close to 39. We have the Horticulture Society. We have Department of Natural Resources. We have Heart Speaks, who's coming up next. LC Productions, who does heart and healing circles herself. We have local artists who will be here short, displaying some of their artwork. We have Minneapolis Parks, the city of Minneapolis, Hennepin County. Very well supported event. We're so excited to just be in the presence of you guys, for real, you all. And everyone watching, I see some of my people that normally table with me. I think I see, I don't know if that's Michelle, which Michelle that is, but in the audience. But yeah, so we want everybody to come out and join in. We have a hula fit contest. We're going to keep it fitness, and so we're going to have a little weighted hula. And then again, we're going to be showcasing our urban canopy coloring book, which is presented by and part of the collective work that I did with the Department of Natural Resources, Project Sweetie Pie, University of Minnesota, and Department of Health. So we're going to have a calming art activity for adults contest, and then also for youth. And of course, we have lots of games. Minneapolis Park are going to bring in the big lawn games, and then I replicated their lawn games for children. So we'll have that same section for children. And we're going to have so many distinguished guests. I honestly, I cannot tell you. The park that we're in is Brighterville. Mm-hmm. Right attached to that park is Mississippi Watershed Management Company. So they built all the rain catchment. They would be here to speak on that. We did a water infrastructure survey last year. University of Minnesota and Mississippi Water Management Company are going to come back and give everyone the results of that actual survey, so that you can see that their work is not in vain. So I know a lot of times people don't want to fill out surveys. Fill out those surveys. Mm-hmm. They use your information to make a difference, and so they'll be back here to talk about it. And then, of course, one of my fantastic speakers, I'm looking so forward to, Devin Ashley. You all may know her as the first Black woman that's going to that attempted to swim to the Gulf of Mexico, but it was just too bad, so she had to turn around and come back. She'll be here to talk about that experience. So just please show up and show out. Thank you.
Let me bring other guests in today, and that's Lupe Castillo. Lupe is the creator of Heart Speaks, Voices of Cultural Healing and Writing Circles. She's a self-identified Zikanindia. I may be saying that wrong. Zikanindia.
India.
Zikana India, okay, from the Southern Lands. And as a culture bearer, Heart Speaks provides activated radical collaborations in writing and spoken word artistry. Lupe's humbleness, her rawness, and authenticity in her writing feel like you sitting with her, sharing her latest journal entry. You listen to her stories and you'll hear your own story. Mm-hmm. She guides participants in writing about their connections to family, to community, and cultural identity. She facilitates writing circles and poetry workshops in community groups, high schools, and universities. Her recent poetry is documented in the Northside Green, Our Urban Canopy art coloring book. There's an upcoming co-authored poetry book to be published in 2025, which is tentatively titled, What is Home to You? Mm-hmm. Community Conversations, 2020 ongoing. These are thought-provoking, heartfelt conversations that share creative stories with intersections of pride, memory-making, history that will be celebrated from years and years to come. Lupe, welcome to the conversation. How are you?
Thank you so much. I am so pleased to be here. I am just thrilled. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the community that is gathered here today. and just the wonderful work that can be blessed and shared with others. So for that, I am absolutely honored.
Well, before we're done, please think of some of your spoken word or poetry that you'd like to share. We'd love to hear it. So let the spirit guide you in what is the moment's message. And so think about that. So
Okay.
talk about your work about Heart Speaks, Voices of Cultural Healing and Writing Circles.
Well, thank you for that, just the opportunity to share. This has been a lifelong work of mine, passion, and a gift to share with other community members. So this was very organic, as a Chicana India who identifies with her indigenous identity. There were a few avenues and pathways and actually community circles where I found others like me into not until my middle years, I should say. So I grew up in a very rural town, a very, non BIPOC space that never was affirming, never was gifting the actual presence of being validated and being seen. So that was a process that I kind of had to learn on my own. And so with raising children, you want them to be emboldened, you want them to be warriors, you want them to be seen and know that they are miracles on this earth. And through that process is where I then became that person that I wanted to be their mentor. I wanted them to see the opportunities through me, through my struggles, and through my life. So Heart Speaks is it's just a name. It's just a placeholder where we can hold ourselves to our stories being shared. First, we have to acknowledge the story itself of our life, right? And then to share that in written form and in verbal form. Those are all just different ways of expression that offer others to be seen and witnessed. So Heart Speaks comes to you in that manner. Very humble, very kind of organic, because I work with community. And so sometimes there's linear lines and linear factors involved, but there's also the brokenheartedness that comes through some of those heart stories through others that just need a little bit more time. They need a little bit more attention so that they know that they are not alone. Heart Speaks is in every one of us. And my circles just create an atmosphere that welcomes that and honors that individual's story.
Awesome. Well, we'll gonna go back and forth here. Britt, let me have you come back in before I ask Dr. B to respond and react to the nature of the conversation right now. Talk more specifically about the National Night Out as an event and how the 4th Street Festival and Garden Gathering both elevate and fit in that National Night Out strategy. Really, it's national. It is national, right? And so how does that show up and how do people react to it here in Minnesota and in your community?
I'll tell you, that's such a great question. When I first moved over here to Minneapolis, I moved here, I was living in St. Paul, and turns out that I had been appointed by Mayor Fry's office for the Upper Harbor terminal, now development. And
Mm-hmm.
the word on the street was, I lived in St. Paul and I should be living in Minneapolis. Well, the mayor had given me a waiver to live in St. Paul. And then I was like, I want to show people that I am coming over here to Minneapolis to make a difference. So I start searching, where can I go, so I can live in Minneapolis. So that's how it all started. I came here for that 2-year term. Once I got here, I was here 1 week and the neighbors said, you should be on Prospect Park Association board. I'm not kidding. The neighbors got together in 1 week and was like, we're nominating you. You are a powerhouse. And they nominated me to be on the board. And of course, I ended up being on the board. And then the president's like, no, you should be vice president. And that's how that all started. So I'm in this neighborhood and I'm kind of seeing what we got going on here. So we have college town, the university, and we have the professors, and then there was a little mixed bag kind of happening. But I didn't see a lot of super community support that supported Black and Indigenous people. Yeah, they have the ice cream social, they have the Witches Tower, they have some cute stuff going on, but I wanted to see it look more like a unified space. And I said, I'm going to take this opportunity. I said, do you all have a block leader? And they said, yes, we do. And so I met the block leader. She goes, nope, I'm passing the torch. I've already heard about you. Have at it. So, so I went, so I hosted my very first, and listen, right after the pandemic ended yesterday, and I hosted this the day after, honestly. And so at the time, the crime preventive specialist was Nick Juarez. He's now at the University of Minnesota. So he comes to the first event. He stands beside me. He goes, "Hey, Britt." Yeah, he goes, "I don't know how you're going to top yourself if you did all of this on your first one." I said, "Don't you worry. I will continue to top myself." And I have continued to do that. We've been able to bring folks from Glendale, which is a government housing in Prospect Park. They come over. They've came over and volunteer. They come over and be a part of the scene. So we've had our seniors have come together, folks who garden in the Bridalveil. So we've been able to make this just a big, one big pot of intentional programming and unity. And so with that, we thought, well, I work predominantly around in the environment, so let's make it a sustainability and a greener event. And that's what we do. Even our shared table, how everybody has like a potluck, we request that you bring a sustainable dish. And we also tell you it's okay if it's store-bought, just for safety reasons, right? And so even that, we make sure in all the games and all the stuff that we do here is really centered around intentional programming. And then everybody, and folks don't show up empty-handed. I mean, when the organizations come, I can tell you right now, they come with internships. They come with jobs. We're not out here just having a party. We're out here really trying to make a difference in the community. And so far it's been working. And each year, not only have I been inviting more people, they've been contacting me and say, "Hey, I want to be a part of your National Night Out." So I'm like, because I didn't think I thought it was just going to be community members like who live local. They were like, "No, our National Night Out doesn't really do much. So we'll come over to yours." And I have been so appreciative. And I'm telling you, man, very seldom does someone tell me, "No, it's National Night Out, I can't come." I mean, I probably have one or two people, but folks want to be a part of this because you can see community coming together in the way that it's supposed to. So it's just a fantastic time and a fantastic event.
Dr. B, jump in. Thoughts, impressions, feelings, questions. What do you thought?
I have a million cajillion thoughts, and all of them are around the magic and the power of building community when community needs you, loves you back, gives you support. I was just having a good time listening to Sister Britt talk about, when you even started the story, I knew you were going to get voluntold to do something. And Lupe's not far behind. Even if you don't plan on doing anything, people can see that fire in you. And that fire is the passion for your community and the passion for honoring our elders, our ancestors, our creator with your very bodies, with your very work. So as we talk today about National Night Out or any time, National Day In, whatever we're doing, it just means to me that the message around caring for our community is self-care. That's what I just learned.
Say that one more time.
Caring for community is self-care. That's what you both taught.
Let me ask Lupe to jump in there because I'm hearing it and I'm feeling it, Dr. B. And Lupe, that's kind of what you're talking about, enabling people to focus on self-care, I think. Am I correct?
Absolutely. And so as we have the circles of, Heart Speaks, I also want to have individuals understand you do not need a writing degree. You do not need a master's of arts. You just need to sit and witness your own story, because through that comes seeing yourself, and validating your own experience rather than feeling isolated, rather than feeling like you were the target of this pain. So that alone is monumentous in one's healing journey, because at times we live our lives, and I'm saying that for myself as well. At times we live our lives hiding and running from the shame of pain. And so through writing, individuals can just share what they're willing to share. In the circles, no one has to share anything. So I also want to demystify who's a writer, who's an artist, who can do healing. We all can.
That's right.
We all can do that care and that grace and give ourselves that compassion as we care for ourselves. So true.
Whenever you've got a piece that you want to share, a spoken word or poem, just drop it whenever you feel like it in the course of the conversation. Britt, food, sustainability, healing, thoughts, reflections.
Lupe, you should do these are the places you will find me. I'm just saying. I'm requesting.
It's a local secret. Yes. Okay.
So one of the reasons that Lupe and I work so well together is, a long time ago, we used to do these events, and we would be Brie Lupe. So, because one of the things we came up with is we realized that this is all interchangeable. I mean, food is healing.
That's right.
Words, poetry, it's healing. We're all coming from the same place of healing, sometimes a little differently. And I tell everyone, I rarely go anywhere without my poet. And the poet rarely goes anywhere without me, because we work hand in hand together, right? And so even when I was asked to do the coloring book, what did I do? I called my poet. I said, listen, I have an opportunity. Write a poem. I had to fuss at her up until like 2 days before. We need a poem. It's what we worked together. We made it happen. And one of the things I keep telling people, that some people are so afraid when they hear the word vegan or vegetarian. We have to get away from that. And I work in a sustainable space, and I was at a space recently, and I sort of had to tell them, if you all want to still continue talking about sustainability and environmentally sound, you all have to lay off of that meat. You're going to have to start to understand the connection between veganism, green gas emissions, and the environment. I mean, it's not something we push on you. It just have to be every day. Lupe started off first thing was giving up pork and beef. And then she started Meatless Mondays. That's how I started her family, her friends. They started on that. Before you know it, it was Meatless Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And it just kind of happens. Your body starts to crave good food, right? And I am such a witness of food being healing. And I've told this story many times. I literally went through this when COVID. I took the COVID shot and had to be healed through my own medicine, which was food. And so I'm just telling you, and when we talk about sustainability, veganism goes right into that, because this is going to sustain your lifespan. This is what sustainable is, right? So if you're eating better, you're eating whole foods, you're eating well, you're taking care of your body. And what does that do? Oftentimes we're living longer. I mean, look at us right here, right now. You all know our ancestors did not look like us 30 years ago. I mean, they just didn't. I mean, because of the food that you're eating, you know what I mean? So that's when I talk about sustainability. I tell people, I'm not going to push you to be a vegan or vegetarian, but what I'm going to ask you to do, just try one thing at a time. We have Meatless Mondays. We have Try Me Tuesdays. We have Wellness Wednesday. We have Thankful Thursdays, and we have Fun Fridays. On Friday, you can go out and get something that you like, right? So let's just try this. Let's just try this. This is how we do it. Those are our little 5 days. And a lot of times we tell people on the weekends, relax a little, and maybe work something in that you normally eat, that you like to eat, so if you want to have a little fish on Friday, we're not going to beat you up, have it, but just try to get into the rhythm of that, what that looks like.
I love it.
What comes to mind, Britt, as you tell me this, I remember writing stories about kids who were locked into Cheetos and what do you call them, hot Cheetos, or it was a fad a few years ago, but snack food
Those
and corner
Takis.
store food. talk. Yeah. And so I remember just thinking about we had gotten to where kids in our families, our neighborhoods, had this idea that the source of food was 7-Eleven, the corner store, and that if it wasn't there, it wasn't to be had. And so the contradiction, the juxtaposition here was that on the one hand, we live in a place that's known as the land of 10,000 lakes, and that suggests availability of fish, if nothing else, right? And we also can remember the people that preceded us were fishers and farmers and hunters, and they have different relationship with land and with sustainability, with food production and food consumption. But somehow we allowed ourselves to get tricked by a corporate strategy that drives and is driven by corporate greed to disassociate ourselves from our connection to the food production process. And so we end up not knowing, not remembering, forgetting, or being tricked into thinking that if I can't buy it at the grocery store, it must not exist. And so we find ourselves out doing things to chase the dollar, not to chase the food. We think the dollar is the answer, but the dollar isn't. It's the food. And the question is, couldn't you be growing it on your deck, in your window planter, in your backyard, on neighborhood boulevard? So what has been happening in the past 10, 12 years, I think Michael Chaney, one of the principal, architects of awareness around sustainability and food justice, people are getting into gardening, not only in their yards, but also community gardens. And I think it's a wonderful thing. But how do we reorient ourselves to be critical of systems that disconnect us from the reality of our own good health?
Mhm.
I'll stop there. It's just a thought. What do you think, Britt, and then Lupe and Dr. B? What are your thoughts on it?
I love that question, because here's what I keep saying. If we can have more gatherings, small gatherings. So we've done focus groups. I've done focus groups with Lupe as well, where those gatherings, I come up with 3 or 4 types of food. And I did one West Indian, and then I did a Latinx, and then I did Italian. So these are like all of our cultures combined, and Native Americans. I did 4 styles of food. But the way I did the food was all we call me that we came up with this name She Chef, because she stands for, the chef part stands for creating healthy, eclectic foods, right? So I combined those foods. No one knew what culture they were eating, because I cook across the wire. I'll make something that's I do something called a Santa Fe soup. I featured it last year at Tamales y Bicicletas, and the ladies were coming up to me saying, "This tastes like pozole." Wait. Is this? No, they were so shocked, because I blended the Latin flavors
Mhm.
in with this vegan food, but then I cross-wired it over to Native American 3 sisters. That's what was in the soup. See,
Oh,
that's all we
girl.
need to do. Just get together and have these and I do focus groups. I literally bring them in and let them taste the food and tell me if you were somewhere and we had this type of food, would this be something you will eat? And I'm telling you, Lupe, I don't go on Facebook. And so Lupe comes and tell me, there's someone on Facebook talking about your food. Her name is Nancy. And she said, when I first walked in, I think I was going to be full, because the plate, I serve it really cute and quaint. I know you're going to be full, so that's why I don't put a lot on your plate. And she wrote the best write-up. In fact, I need to clip that and put it on my website, because it was such a beautiful write-up. But if we just did more things like that, bring food onto the table, bring friends and family. You don't have to make it a big deal. This particular event, we had 25 people. That was enough to start introducing them to the mindset of, oh, it's just a matter of how you cook this food. So we can do this. It's easy.
Lupe, what do you thought, Lupe? What are your thoughts?
Well, once you taste She Chef's Brit's food, you will understand not only does Brit prepare foods, but because of her heart and soul and intention, and she is not recreating meat dishes. She's curating the dishes that can heal your body, that can heal your soul. And one of my steps in moving towards this, with Britt's leadership, was also remembering we had raw foods in our diets.
Yeah.
We didn't have deep fried vegetables like we do at the state fair. We actually ate vegetables with the skin on, sometimes not even washed and cleaned, right where we pick them. How many children do you see popping those cherry tomatoes? And
Mhm.
that's because they're introduced to those. And everyone should be able to feed themselves. Everyone should have the opportunity to grow their own foods and to have it be in a way that's conducive and seamless within our own living environments. That's why the community gardens are so precious. Even if you don't want to, weed and pick the vegetables and pick the fruits, go ahead and just volunteer. Just create a song, a singing event in a garden, in a community
Mhm.
garden.
Hmm.
And then, asking, Brit to bring in some of those. I oftentimes call them appetites, because individuals need to be introduced when they're not familiar. Because to reconnect your own psyche, your own soul to the taste of real food, that's an experience.
Do you have a garden song?
You know, if someone has told me that watching me in the garden is a song, that's my meditation. That is my absolute peace and communion with my ancestors.
Talk about your ancestors. Tell us your story, your family story.
Yes. Well, I was born in Texas, and I say the real part of Texas. So the southern El Valle area, Harlingen, Brownsville, McAllen. And my family moved to Minnesota when I was 4. So I call Minnesota home. And anywhere that my grandmother was, who just recently passed on Christmas Eve, but that was home to me. And anywhere that you are with your loved ones and celebration with food and care and checking in on each other, that's such a healing journey for everyone, multi generational. So I grew up in an area where there was only one of 3 Mexican families, and one of the other 2 families were my grandparents and my
Mhm.
uncles and aunts. So grew up very isolated. And then when I came to the cities to go to school, to the university, that was when the education of history connected with my awareness of who I really was. Because I always knew I was different. I always knew I wasn't the one that was always seen as part of the community of youngsters and teenagers and, potential achievers. That was something I learned later in life. And it was individuals like Dr. Bravada Quinsanya that being bold and sharing the power of being emboldened and active and just loving and compassionate. Those are the women in my life that, boy, they were right beside me. Even if we weren't there physically with each other, they were hand in hand with me. In fact, I spoke to Britt about you, Dr. Bravada Akinsanya, before she even met you. So when she met you, for just a moment, it was like, ah, that's that powerhouse woman that you shared with me. I said, absolutely. So, yeah.
It's an
Britt,
honor.
Britt, if you would talk about your story, your family lineage, and I wanted Lupe to go further into her lineage. She said you were born in Texas, the real Texas, but what is your sense of your ancestors? Who are they? And I asked the question to get a sense of how you uh, both show up and present and operate in the world
Hmm.
as the uh, representation and as a carrier of all of their spirits. That's
Yes, well, thank you for that. So I identify as Chicana India because As a Mexicana, I definitely don't have and have taken on like the Spanish characteristics. I was always, more bronze and brown than even my family members. And so always knowing and connecting with my indigenous roots. And in fact, you know, my early beginnings here in the cities was very active in helping to be the first circle of the first danza azteca here in the cities and actually across the Midwest at that time. My children were raised in danza azteca because I wanted them to, have that stronghold and embody our ceremonies, our rituals, being Mexican indigenous people, gente, here in this community. So that was the welcoming of an indigenous identified community. And I do say, I am indigenous. I'm indigenous from the southern lands. So my family has deep, deep roots. My family has military backgrounds. My family has, you know, poor, backgrounds, very humble beginnings, but rich in love and life. The women in our families are the warrior women that we all know can lead us and will lead us. It is because we are the life givers. We hold those ceremonies, we hold those seeds in our hems. So being identified with my gente, with my people, grounds me and surrounds me with knowledge and wisdom. And I have a long way to go yet. I may be in the Gregorian, calendar, be of a certain age, but I have a long way to go. And my ancestors speaking with me in my night dreams, those are the lessons that I live for.
I have a sense that that your family preceded the uh, arrival of the Europeans, of the settlers, and in a sense, it gives you a different way of analyzing what we've been presented as history. And I think you probably, because of your personal knowledge and your the validity of the existence that is infinite,
Hmm.
that you represent, you know that the colonizer mentality is an aberration and temporary.
Yes, and we need to help each other understand that because some have been tricked.
Mm.
Some absolutely have the need to succumb at times because of the ever enduring pain and struggle. And we, as a community, we will get through. We will move mountains. We will show our children and our grandchildren and the next generations who are actually the leaders. They will lead us to new horizons that we never even imagined. I absolutely believe that.
Britt, what do you think? What are you feeling?
I love that, Lupe.
Me too.
This is her voice is just so healing. I'm like, yes, yes. That's and it's so true, right? And I tell people that I grew up in a small town in West Virginia, where my mother and her ancestors were from. Um, my mother been of Caucasian descent and Native American descent. My dad been of West Indian descent. Um, but we grew up and we have these little accents because we have this little language that we speak in the house. And I never forget one day my mom was like, "Okay, I like that and it's cute in the house. Let me tell you something though, out there, cut it out." And
Let me,
it's so,
let
so
me,
and I
let me
told
hear, I'm curious. Let me hear something. Like what? What do you mean?
so
What do
it's
you
very
remember?
similar. Okay, so it's very similar to how folks try to speak Big Latin.
Mhm.
We actually speak that clear and everyone. Lupe's heard my sister, myself on the phone, and she's like, "What in the whole world?" But she knows a lot now too. So we
Mhm.
just simply would be like in the house, like Iwi aya angry hey and okay Iwi I have some we'll say like say I say ingray please, you know what my mom's like, what? You want to do what? Okay. Whatever you just asked for, you're not gonna get it until you ask me properly. And so and so Lupe laughs about that now because we think about my parents were born. They're old enough to be my grandparents. It's a whole nother story. My dad was born in 1919. My mother was born in 1925. True story. My siblings were grown and gone off to college and had their own families by the time I was brought up. I'm the baby of well, actually 9 children. My brother passed away on his way to college in quicksand at 17. So I never met him, of course. And so Lupe says, so we talk about this all the time. My parents were older, right? So my mom, that was typical for someone that was born in 1925 to say, cut that out, right? And so, Lupe and I we talk about how now you wouldn't want someone to do that as a parent, because you don't want them to extract that from your life. and she didn't, because we still do it all the time. We speak it all the time. But the point is, coming up with these 2 vastly different cultures, they had, I don't even know how they got together in the 1940s or whatever it was. I have no idea. But I had the best of what I would consider all of these worlds. I mean, I learned so much growing up with all these different cultures. And from that, I just started reading. When I was away in school, I was like, I'm going to read up on, because I didn't know a lot about either of the cultures. To be honest with you, I didn't know about none of them. Black, white, nothing. And so I just started reading up on the cultures. And my brother was basically like a historian. Like my brother, he just passed away 2 years ago. He left us with such a blueprint. He did all the work for us. He owned Indian Acres in Virginia for a very long time. I think he wanted us just to know who we were. Like he wanted us to really understand where we came from, how rich our roots were, how deep our culture was. Because we could go on and ignore it all we want, but he wanted us to really understand it. I was telling Lupe, I'll never forget, he took us every year, like to the Caribbean Festival in DC, because basically we were all raised in the DMV. So I went to school in West Virginia, but I spent all of my holidays, the whole summer in the DMV. And so we were at Rock Creek Park. We were, all of those places. And he made sure we were celebrating culture in a way that we could understand that. And he said to my mom one day, I'm really worried about that one. And she goes, why? He goes, you know what? You should be looking into like a HBCU for her. This is a true story.
Wow.
And my mom didn't even know what an HBCU was. She was like, what's that? But he was basically concerned that I may not have enough culture. And so he started imparting me, making sure I was in it. Next thing I know, I'm in DC sitting on the sidelines playing go-go music on my drums. Like I learned go-go like that. And I'm like, listen, like it was necessary. It was necessary. I was going astray, people. Okay. And so I'm so glad what he did for me in terms of, and I understand culture in a way now that you can't even make a joke and bother me. You're not going to bother me with that because I understand who I am and I understand the culture of where I come from. It's rich and I'm proud. I am proud to be all of what I am. And I celebrate both heritage.
Which of the islands is your family from?
So my dad has Bajan and Jamaican roots. I always just say Bajan because I hang around a lot of Jamaicans and they always tease me and call me a Yankee. So I don't give them any credit. But yeah, and my grandmother, his mother, she lived to be, I think 98, 99. Yeah, and listen, when you talk about practices and good practices, like I had it on both sides. My mother is heavy into, Native American heritage and culture. And, and so we practice both. And I do that right now. I grow sage out here in my garden, which is right out my window. Then I grow some good hot spicy peppers, not quite Scotch bonnet, but close enough, right? And so I'm just happy to know exactly who I am. And I always say that I hope we can pass that down. I hope our nieces, our nephews, and so on and so forth can actually understand that and get that and know that you are from a strong culture, and support it and celebrate it.
So let me jump in because I know our time's getting close to the end, but I want to make an observation. And I've been seeing this like all day and throughout the week. And I'm going to pull in a little bit of politics in it. as we look at Kamala Harris becoming the first, hopefully, Black and woman, and Asian and woman president of the United States. A lot of racial innuendos and microaggressive language has been pointed toward her and about her. And as we were sitting in this circle, I was thinking, man, what would she think if she was sitting here right now with us?
Mm.
And what hit me is that we're actually demonstrating what culturally affirming language looks like. We're actually literally exhibiting what it means to share power in a space. We're showing how important to weave in the ancestors, our elders, our practices, our food, our language, the creativity, the kuumba that we bring to spaces. And as a Black psychologist, we're struggling to make sure that we promote the psychological and spiritual liberation of our people. These actions, these little acts, these areas in this tree, these branches, they are all healing because they're affirming and confirming our right to be and be who we are and be who we be the way we are. I love the pigeon, whatever you want to call that. I love to talk about the garden. I love the way we sit in this circle with our brother and our sisters, how we claim a common union. So this is what the healing circle is about. So those who observe, if they do like the fishbowl exercise and they say, look at these people, they're being the way Black folks are meant to be, they would see this. And it's healing and it's joyful. And I'm just so proud to be in and honoring to be in this space with y'all. Ooh, this is a good healing circle. I'm not
Same.
lying.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you, Al. Thank you, Al. This is just, oh my gosh, thank you so much. This is fantastic. This is
Well,
truly what healing looks like. Lupe,
Yeah.
I just want to let you know that we only have 7 minutes. If you're going to give us some poems, some words, you need to get to that.
I will take this opportunity, this invitation to just share a little smidgen of one of the pieces that seems to intersect so much of what we've spoken today. And this was actually written in the garden in one afternoon. These are the places you will find me. You will find me writing on slips of paper or in a notebook, on backs of recycled paper, on the latest. This is where I will write the rest of my book, Cosas Íntimas, a book 20 years in the making. This is where you will find me. I write for all the silent glances. I write for all the secrets our families hold. I am seen as the one who speaks, maybe too loud, a little too long, for those secrets to come out of hiding. I write for those little souls who look at me with their weeping eyes and fragile hearts. These are the places you will find me, in the gardens that bear my sunshine, in the herbs that take my tears, in the flores that were sown to bring beauty, in the tulips that were planted during the heat of a storm and brought a peaceful surrender, marigolds that bring our gente home during Dia de los Muertos, the bearded iris that the grandchild tenderly presented to his teacher. This is where you will find me, making salsa from the garden, tomatoes, jalapenos, cilantro. I listen to the sartén of roasting vegetables, and I imagine knowing someone who likes salsa hotter than I. It is because of these places I am here, here able to hear your stories, here able to watch your tongues unfurl. I listen to your heart speaks, listen to your hopes, feel your dreams. This is where I will find me.
Awesome, awesome. So, sister, do you also do some of your poems in Spanish as well, or is it all English usually?
I actually do them in Spanglish, which is another language.
Would you do the same one again in Spanglish? Eh,
Well, there were some
si
Spanglish,
puede, si puede.
there were some Spanglish words in there, and those are
Mhm,
very
mhm,
intentional.
mhm.
For
Gente, mi
example,
gente.
say mi gente, en el jardín que tiene el sol, en las hierbas que tienen mis corazones, en las flores que están hermosas, en el hierbas que tiene la salud.
Mm, mm.
Mi,
And
mi,
normally I'm playing the drums behind her, but I wasn't prepared
It,
today. So she does the so
it's
we
an
call herself,
experience.
she's the poet and I'm the drummer.
It's an
And
experience to have us, and the opportunity of sharing one's words are the palabras. You know, I share this with every circle. We are all gifted to be here because you will never find this again. You will
but you will
never.
Lupe, but they will find us on August the 6th. She will be doing the poem and I will be
Yes,
playing. Let's get back to the but you will
and
find us in the
listen,
garden
everyone.
on
listen. You
August
know
the
what?
Please
This
join
6th at
this this is
5:30 p.m.
this is a
August.
John Coltrane moment for me for this reason. You said never find us again. You said, but you will find us. And so what you're demonstrating that it's both at the same time. It's not an either or. It's both and, right? And so when you said you'll never find it again, that's Eric Dolphy, the saxophone player, saying, once it's in the air, it's gone. Once it's created, it's gone. It flies away. And Britt, you're saying that this process, though, of us being with each other, uh, is a reflection and a demonstration of the regenerative principle. We, in our daily interaction, reflect the power of regeneration. You called it sustainability, but in the spirit and in the connection and in the examination of the eternal nature of this moment, we are revealing regeneration itself. That's what I think. Listen, I think we're here at the end of the program. Dr. B, I'm going to leave it with you to close us out.
All I can say is it is so sweet and liberating, empowering, and joyful to sing with our voices and our souls to each other and our Creator. And we see you again, honey, at the Healing Circle. Y'all will be back. Drop the mic. Oh, talking stick.
Well, listen, thank you all. Michelle, thank you for your comments and your encouragement. And I want to, as we close out, tell people, invite our listeners and viewers. Some people will hear this later, so I'm getting it now. We're streaming this across Twitter, LinkedIn, also YouTube, and on Facebook. So there's a number of ways. And if you are connecting on any of those platforms, we'd love to have you comment. And you do that just by going to the comment section, even live here or even later if you're watching it later, and leave your comments. And as an incentive, if you happen to be a sports person and you're in Minnesota, we'd be glad to offer you a chance to win a pair of Minnesota Twins baseball tickets. All you have to do is subscribe to our channel, our YouTube channel, Insight News MN, and then leave a comment on today's video, but start the comment with the word baseball. And baseball lets us know you saw it during today's show. And we'll let you know next week if you want a pair of tickets to an August game of the Minnesota Twins. Listen, thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Thank you.
See you.
Gracias.
Thank you.